Mary Belbeer.
Here.
Kevin Tansky.
He's absent tonight, excused.
Andy Selhertz.
Here.
Katie Gallagher.
Here.
Tony DeMarco.
Here.
Ron Van Kirk.
Here.
Kathy Pucci.
Here.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everybody. Tonight we're going to start off with a proclamation from the mayor. Come on, Frank.
He doesn't want to come up. Come on, Frank, you can come up. Oh, he's got to take a picture, okay. All right, this is a proclamation to honor and recognize Kevin Pucci as a three-time state champion in the policy debate at St. Ignatius High School. Whereas Brooklyn resident Kevin Pucci, in his fourth year in the varsity policy debate at St. Ignatius High School and the second year as team captain, and during the 2013-2014 season, Kevin and his partner had achieved an impressive record in the competition at local, state, and national debate tournaments, including breaking into the elimination rounds at several tournaments, including Georgetown University, the University of Michigan, and several Chicago area tournaments. Whereas at the University of Michigan tournament, Kevin and his partner won a bid to the tournament championships by upsetting the first seed and finishing 14th out of 168 teams from 17 states. This was the first TOC bid St. Ignatius earned in over a decade. And whereas Kevin received the individual recognition as first speaker at John Carroll and ninth speaker at the New Tier tournament, and Kevin is the district champion of the National Forensic League Ohio North Coast District and represents Northeast Ohio at the National Debate Finals in Kansas City, where he made it to the elimination rounds. And whereas at the 87th Ohio School Speech League State Finals, both teams from St. Ignatius became a co-champion, having tied for first place. This was a record-setting third state championship for Kevin, and whereas to honor Kevin and two of his teammates who cumulatively were the most successful policy debaters in the history of St. Ignatius, the school established a 2014 award which will be given each year to a student who exemplifies the Ignatius qualities of scholarship, leadership, sportsmanship, and equita perfecta in the rhetorical art of policy debate. The citation also notes that Kevin and his teammates were responsible for recruiting and mentoring, teaching, and leading the next generation of policy debaters above and beyond their participation all 4 years. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Richard H. Balbier, on behalf of the Brooklyn City Council and the citizens of the city of Brooklyn, Ohio, do hereby recognize and congratulate Kevin Pucci on his remarkable achievement as a three-time state champion in policy debate at St. Ignatius High School.
Congratulations, Kevin. We will now proceed with our regular council meeting. First, I'd like to express my condolences on behalf of council for the family of Joseph Vozar. Mr. Vozar was honorably served the city of Brooklyn as a police officer for 31 years. Tomorrow, June 24th at 6:30, council will hold a special council meeting to wrap up pending legislation that is not passed tonight and to review bid results for the Recreation Center locker room and restroom renovations. We received 3 bids ranging from $151,100 to $154,100, and our service director and architect recommend going with the best and lowest bid, which is from White House Construction. Additionally, Chief Zemek received a grant from the Ohio Department of Public Safety for $2,750. He's going to use it for EMS equipment, and that will be passed tomorrow night. The session tomorrow is open to the public, and after the special council meeting, council will have a work session to meet with Robert Martin of Myrid Energy Solutions regarding various lighting throughout the city. On tonight's agenda, we have a request by the police and fire to purchase portable radio chargers and accessories in the amount of $24,000, and this is under state contract. These chargers are for the radios received from the county a couple weeks ago. We also have repeated resolution and ordinance regarding the 0.25% tax decrease, a repeated resolution on the passage of the tax budget for 2015, an ordinance to change the qualifications for council and mayor, an ordinance authorizing transfers and advances for 2014, and lastly, the repeated ordinance to authorize the purchase and installation of an exhaust system from K Company in the amount of $92,193.97. New on the agenda tonight is an ordinance that would authorize the mayor to purchase the property at 7508 Memphis Avenue in the amount of $22,000, and another ordinance that would allow the Cuyahoga County Land Bank to demolish the property. We also have ordinance expanding the agreement with Kathy Halter and Griswold to pay legal expenses of no more than $10,000 relating to landfill closure, an ordinance that would amend EMS service charges in our city to increase the rates commensurate with current insurance rates, and by a recommendation of Great Lakes Billing. The chief has assured us that none of these changes will be added cost to our residents. We also have an ordinance for the purchase of a 2014 Ford Utility Interceptor at the price of $36,999 for the chief's command car, and a 2015 Ford 250 for $36,518 for the fire department. Both of these purchases are through state cooperative purchasing program from Kovach Ford. And this price includes all of the ancillary equipment, installation, graphics, decaling, and brackets. We have an ordinance tonight that allows for the 2014 replacement of the passage of the codified ordinances. And lastly, an ordinance that would authorize the mayor to enter into an agreement with Clems Nelson and Associates to perform on-site personnel consulting services at a rate of $125 per day, 1 day a week for the next 6 months. At this time, we will hold the public session. If anyone in the audience has anything for the good and welfare of the city of Brooklyn, please step forward, state your name, address, including city, and keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. Nobody? Okay, we will now move on to reports from committees, commissions, and boards. First up tonight, we are from the Finance and Economic Development Committee, Councilwoman Pucci.
Thank you. Good evening. The Finance Committee met earlier this evening at 6:15. There were no further discussions on the repeated items on our agenda this evening, and we recommended the following. On Ordinance 2014-37, we recommended that council pass this by emergency measure. This is a purchase agreement for the city to purchase the property at 7508 Memphis Avenue for $22,000. The reason we want to pass this by emergency this evening is because the mayor cannot sign the purchase agreement without authorization from council, and once this is out there in the public, we want to make sure that no one else comes along and makes an offer. Next, we recommended for first reading for 2014-38. This is entering into the agreement with the Cuyahoga County Land Bank to demolish that property. 2014-39, also recommending first reading. This is the authorization for to expand the agreement for our landfill with the attorneys Calfee, Halter, and Griswold for another $10,000. Ordinance 2014-40, we recommended go on first reading, which is updating the charges for our EMS runs. We currently charge $500 for basic service, $400 for basic service and $550 for advanced life support. We're going to now charge $500 for the basic service for EMS, and we're going to split the advanced life support into two different categories. The first one will be $650. The second one will be $750. We're also going from $10 per mile to $12 per mile. And we will continue to accept from residents and employees of businesses in the city of Brooklyn what their insurance pays. Also, for first reading this evening, the authorizing the purchase of the two vehicles for the Brooklyn Fire Department and authorizing the mayor to enter into a management consultant agreement. We will be amending that agreement when it comes up on the floor. And we also got from Mr. Enovich, I had requested that before we break for the summer, that he give us an update on where we stand with the capital expenditures, so we did review that. Thank you very much for that report. And discussed moving forward with reports relating on our expenditures. That completes my Finance Committee meeting report. For Economic Development Committee, we have a meeting scheduled for this Friday, June 27th at 10:30 a.m. in the conference room at City Hall. And that completes my report. Thank you.
Next up, we'll hear from Board of Zoning Appeals, Building Commissioner Ed Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Council President. The Board of Zoning Code of Appeals, at its regular meeting of June 16, 2014, decided to grant a side yard variance to construct an 18-foot pool in the rear yard located at 5947 Traymore Avenue. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Next, we'll move on to the School Board Liaison and Public Works Committee, Councilman Selhertz.
Thank you, Council President. For Public Works, there is going to be a work session tomorrow night after the City Council meeting, as Katie mentioned. This is going to be a meeting with the representative from manufacturer's representative for LED lighting. Once again, just a quick overview. If you've gone through Lakewood, through their downtown region, you'll see the old-fashioned street lights with flower pots, etc. We're thinking about doing that on Memphis Avenue. But in the meantime, we're also looking at Ridge Road. Since it's being repaved, there is the opportunity maybe to spruce it up a little bit. Fran, our Economic Development Director, is looking into NOAC grants. The grants are usually around $20,000 to $25,000, can go up to $75,000. Literally, it could pay for the switch over to the LED lighting. The savings is a 3-year payback if it's already getting paid up front through the grant. Just in energy cost alone, we're looking at probably about 50 to 60% savings per year just on our energy bills. And for the city, that's roughly about $15,000 plus a year, so it's about $180,000. So hopefully there is some savings. We'll just try it street by street. That concludes my report.
The Planning Commission is tentatively scheduled to meet July 10th at 6 p.m. in the City Hall Conference Room. I do not have an agenda yet, but this will be posted on the city's website. I'm going to go back to Mr. Selhertz because he'd like to do a school board liaison report.
Sorry. The next regular school board meeting is scheduled to be on July 15, 2014. The regular monthly meetings are open to the public. All are welcome to attend. State of the Schools presentation was done by Cynthia Walker, the school superintendent, on June 10th, 2014 at the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce luncheon. There was an overview of this past school year and the construction in progress. The Treasurer, Todd Hopkins, also provided a financial overview of the current year and also provided a 5-year forecast. There was a regular board meeting on June 17th in room 173. A number of issues were read and approved, including the cafeteria prices for the 2014-15 school year. The board also commended and approved the fourth quarter honor roll for grades 5 through 12, the fourth quarter merit roll for grades 5 through 12, athletic selections for first team All Pac-10, second team All Pac-10, and honorable mention All Pac-10. Also recognized were Scholar Athlete Award winners. These are individuals with a GPA of 3.0 or higher in the fourth quarter. A number of these designated students were also designated as all-conference Scholar Athlete Award recipients. Students in this category must receive a varsity letter and have an overall 3.5 GPA. The superintendent also mentioned that the summer reading packets are now on the website. Even though the school year just ended, plans are being put into place for next year. Volunteers are being sought for the walking school bus program. Yes, with construction being done on Ridge and through some other parts of the city, the walking school bus program may not be fully effective, but at the meeting it was hoped that little steps forward could be made in the progress of the program, and that by the start of school in August 2015, when the anticipated construction project is completed, the walking school bus program could be fully implemented. Those that are interested, please contact Susie Markey at Brooklyn Schools. Also on their website, you'll notice that there is a Brooklyn Cares Back to School program. And quick one sentence, one paragraph is, and there is a flyer out at the front desk on City Hall. We understand that some families have difficulty fulfilling the list of school supplies that students are expected to have at the school year. We would again like to help families who are struggling financially. The Brooklyn school staff members would like to help during the back-to-school season in August. It's a longer form, and there's some things you have to fill out. Once again, if there's any interest from you as a resident in helping these people that might be a little bit more needy, you can once again contact Mrs. Susie Markey, and it's suzy.marquis@brooklyn.k12.oh.us. Library construction is in progress. Renovations of the high school library are well underway, converting the space into 4 classrooms. And the last thing is, for new residents with children that are planning to attend Brooklyn schools, school will start in the middle of August. You'll stress not to wait until the end of summer to register your child to school. Please do so, the sooner the better. You can register your child by calling 216-485-8112. That concludes my report.
Thank you. We will now move on to reports from council, and first up tonight is Mary Belvier.
Thank you, Ms. Gallagher. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Kevin Pucci on your wonderful achievement. Go Wildcats. This weekend is the Relay for Life. We encourage all to attend if possible. The location will be right here across the street at the rec center. I know I will be baking up a storm for the Saturday luncheon. I hope all can make it, and it's really, really supporting a great cause. Also, tomorrow, June 24th, at the Cleveland Convention Center in their Grand Ballroom on Lakeside Avenue, they are having an event called Help for Homeowners. This is geared for those who are struggling to make mortgage payments, or if they are unemployed, or they're having trouble refinancing their homes, or even if they have rental properties that are becoming too unaffordable. You can meet one-on-one with a mortgage company or an approved housing expert to identify the solutions that can best help your situation. So if you're interested, you can call 888-995-4673. This is for free help. Lastly, you know my stand on the charter amendments, strictly who may run for elected office in the city of Brooklyn. I have expressed my feelings at the last meeting. I'm not going to try to reiterate all my points I made. I will sum it up by saying that it's plain unconstitutional and un-American. And as for the income tax decrease, all our experts say no, not at this time. There's also, with all the kids getting out of school right now, it's really important that we remind ourselves to be very, very careful and cautious when driving. The pools are full. The parks are loaded with children. We have to be cautious. It's easy to not see them and an accident to happen. And lastly, I'd like to say, with the City Council recessing for the summer, I would like to thank all those residents who have allowed me to serve. It has been an honor, a true honor to serve, and I thank you, and I hope all have a safe and enjoyable summer. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Andy Selhertz.
Thank you. On June 11th, I was at a meeting held by the board at Brooklyn Acres to hear concerns of the residents there. Also present was Councilman Kevin Kelly from Cleveland. A number of issues were brought up, including police patrols, some chuck holes, leaf collection, and general misbehavior at Brooklyn Memorial Park, to the point that some parents do not want to bring their children to the park. Thank you to both Chief Melky and Mr. Verba on working these issues and concerns from the residents. I'll mention this now, and this is something that's in the planning stage. It may happen and it may not. I had the opportunity to meet with 2 recruiters from the Marine Corps who gave a talk at one of the Campus Life events held by Nick Maroulis. Their discussion was about having a proper character and attitude. After the event, a number of the younger people had general comments with the 2 recruiters. I know that the current class in high school that is graduating, there are about 5 or 6 students who will be going into the military. What the recruiters have offered to do is run a combat fitness test. This is at no cost to the city. There are a number of things that need to be worked out yet regarding space, liability insurance waivers. I'm working on setting up a meeting with the Staff Sergeant, Maria McGinty, and Scott Clausen to see if this is possible. This is meant to provide our youth with a chance to do something different that hasn't been done before. The combat fitness test consists of an 880-meter sprint, maximum set of shoulder presses with a 30-pound ammo can, and an obstacle-style course while carrying another person the same weight. Roughly half of a football field size area would be good for the area to conduct the event. It would last no more than 2 hours. Also, the Martial Arts Academy that is in Brooklyn and came home with the World Championship trophy is interested in this event and may participate along with the Marine Corps. The recruiter mentioned that he would also get some of the Corps' martial arts people involved. Once again, this is meant just to provide an opportunity to do something else during the summer that has not been done before with no cost to the city. If this does happen, ample notice will be provided along with additional information. And wish everyone a happy and safe summer, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Tony DeMarco.
I'd like to make some additional comments tonight regarding the 2 proposals I have on our agenda. The tax cut proposal, which is Resolution 2014-3 and Ordinance 2014-32. I'd like to thank the mayor for his comments at our last council meeting regarding our economic development activities. He stated that neither he or the economic development director can't see a reason why a company would move here strictly for a reduced income tax rate. I can only assume what he is saying is that a municipality's income tax rate is not a factor for a significant employer that is considering relocating their business. That cannot be further from the truth. In addition, he cited economic development activities such as Key Bank, the Plain Dealer, Sheetz, LA Fitness, and Aero International. And as I have said previously, I am thankful that these businesses decided to bring their employees to Brooklyn or in some cases remain here. The Plain Dealer recently reduced home delivery significantly. Is the long-term viability of this publication really what we want to base the financial future of our city on? The mayor also indicated that I did not support Sheetz, LA Fitness, or Aero International. My reasoning was very simple. I did not vote for Sheetz or LA Fitness because they were purchasing of valuable, scarce land in our city and generating very minimal employment. The 2 companies together will be lucky to generate $50,000 annually in payroll taxes between the 2 of them. When you're losing $4 million, as has been mentioned, this new payroll tax will generate roughly 1.25% of what we're losing. 1.25%. Retail jobs will not solve our problems. In addition, these projects have now taken up valuable land in our city that would be much better served for office users. A few years back, when the Sheetz property was available for sale, I proposed to the mayor that the city purchase the property, develop it ourselves, and bring an office user to the location. I am confident that with the right plan, we could have attracted an office tenant to this parcel of land, which would have provided jobs that we need to continue to provide great services to our residents. I don't know about you, but at least I don't have to drive far for gas in Brooklyn. We now have 9 gas stations in the city of Brooklyn or right outside of our borders. I guess this is what we call positive economic development. As for Aero International, we actually approved a grant that provides the company more money than they will generate for the city. Typical agreements in most other municipalities max out at 50%, meaning the amount of the grant should match the payroll or jobs created. In this case, we gave the company $250,000, and in return, they would generate $200,000 in payroll, and they would only commit to remain in our city for 4 years. These are very clear examples of what happens when you're desperate for economic development activity.
You take whatever you can get instead of investing the time and energy on a real plan that speaks to our city's future. The mayor could not have made my point more clear, which is we have no pipeline or prospective companies with significant payroll even considering moving their business to Brooklyn. I've asked to add resources to our economic development efforts over the years, and the mayor has decided that that wasn't a good idea. Our finance director at a previous meeting also pointed out a rough timetable of when our cash would run out if this income tax cut is passed. And with some assumptions made, I generally agreed with what the finance director said. The fact is, if the tax is implemented, we will run out of cash quicker. If we don't cut the tax rate, we are still going to run out of cash. So the reality is, without a plan, what do we tell our residents today? What are the service levels in 3 or 4 years from now? How much more will they have to pay? By no way am I implying that economic development is an easy task. To attract appropriate business to our city takes thought, planning, and a willingness to spend the time talking to the right people. As for Ordinance 2014-33, a proposed charter amendment that would alter the current requirements for the mayor and council, it was quite entertaining but sad to hear the comments made at our last council meeting regarding this issue. Some have said that I am doing this for political gain or whatever else I guess they could dream up. I don't know, maybe it's coincidence, but shortly after I introduced this proposal, there was a public meeting held with all the members of council, the mayor, and several of his directors, and this exact topic was brought up. I unfortunately was not able to attend the meeting. It was a safety committee meeting held on May 22nd, 2014. One of the mayor's own directors, who's been with the city for 4 years, questioned this exact fact. I will summarize and also provide some direct quotes. He basically went on to say that family relationships that are rampant in the city, from elected officials to appointed positions to full-time employees who are in fact related, are making it very difficult for anything to get done effectively in our city. It was stated, and I quote, "It creates problems for safety forces. These relationships are prohibiting the city from functioning in an effective manner." One quote, which I thought was apropos, was that nepotism brings favoritism. Further to quote the safety director, he went on to say, and I quote, "I know you don't want to hear some of this stuff, and I know it bothers you, but it's going on and it's about time someone said something about it." Well, I can't agree more with the director. Shocked as you all may be, certain members of council did not like the comments from our safety director, nor did they support this proposed legislation. Our mayor was silent on the issue during the meeting. Is anybody surprised? I would ask, as I've asked before, please pay attention to what's going on with your city. This is your city. If anyone would like to get a copy of the audio from this safety committee meeting, I would be happy to provide it to you. As I had said at the last meeting, this ordinance is not about taking away a person's right to be elected. It's simply about removing conflicts of interest that exist among elected officials and family members, and about making Brooklyn a more transparent city. At the end of the day, all I'm asking council to do is approve this ordinance, which puts the issue on the November ballot. Let our residents decide if they want potential conflicts of interest to exist or not. And finally, I would like to wish everybody a very safe and relaxing summer. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Ron Van Kirk.
Thank you, Mrs. Gallagher. Good evening, and thank you for being part of our council meeting tonight. I also want to offer my congratulations to Kevin on his accomplishments at St. Ignatius. I'd like to reiterate my position on a couple of these ordinances. The first one in restriction of who can run for office in Brooklyn. I know a lot's been said about that tonight, but I'm opposed to this proposed charter through this ordinance 2014-33 that prohibits family members of current Brooklyn employee relatives from running for office or being appointed to office in the city. Obviously, we have to be careful about nepotism. I said that last time. But as an American citizen, every person has a right to run for office no matter who we are related to. We already have laws on the books that prohibit any favors by elected officials to employees or other elected officials, regardless of family relation. It's already against the law to do that. We already have laws. If that goes on, it will be prosecuted. It is up to the voters to decide whether a person should be in office when they run for office, not a charter amendment. This seems, again, to be a direct attack on council members and the mayor. Had this proposed amendment been in place when Mayor Coyne was serving as mayor, he himself would have been disqualified from running for mayor, as he had several family members working in the city at the time. While I may or may not agree personally with each candidate running for office and what they stand for, I get one vote as a resident, as does everyone else. As I mentioned before, this proposed amendment would make 2 council members and the current mayor ineligible to run for office. This is simply not right. While I did not vote for each of these candidates each time they ran, I will wholeheartedly defend their right to run. This amendment is not right, and in my opinion is in direct violation of the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Now, Mr. DeMarco mentioned the safety meeting that he was not able to attend. Obviously, I'm the chair of the safety meeting, and I was there. And there were some comments made that were heated, and I would challenge you, if you want to listen to the audio and get it, that's fine. After the meeting was over, I did sit down and meet with the mayor and with the safety director. We discussed some things and got some things ironed out. I actually got an apology from the safety director for some of his comments that were made in that meeting. Insinuating things and implying things that were not said directly doesn't help anybody. And if there is nepotism involved or something illegal involved, then it should be reported to the authorities and prosecuted as such. But restricting someone's right to run for office is not the solution to this problem. Also, as far as the amendment to, or the ordinance to reduce the income tax, I have emailed and given a hard copy of a memo to all the members on council, also to our mayor, the finance director, and law director Scott Clausen. I'm not in favor of necessarily just saying I'm against something without a proposed plan. And so I want to read that memo of what my solution to this issue is. This memo is in response to Resolution 2014-3 and Ordinance 2014-32. Both of these deal with the issue of lowering the Brooklyn income tax from 2.5% to 2.25% effective January 1st, 2015. I have gone on record numerous times in favor of reducing the city income tax. However, I do not believe that now is the appropriate time to reduce Brooklyn's tax revenue by $1.7 million a year in light of the departure of American Greetings in 2016. We will lose approximately $4 million a year when American Greetings leaves. Adding $1.7 million to that loss, which is what will happen if this tax decrease goes through, does not make fiscal sense. As a result, I am producing this memo to propose a different course of action to reduce the income tax in the future. Under a future ordinance, the current income tax rate of 2.5% would stay in effect until December 31st of 2017. Starting January 1st of 2018, the income tax rate would be reduced to 2.25% until December 31st of 2018. At that point, the income tax would be reduced to 2% effective January 1st, 2019, and moving forward. This plan will allow time to start replacing the income lost by American Greetings' departure, decrease our dependence on the 0.5% tax incrementally, allow the city a chance to budget appropriately, and reduce the income tax to its previous, quote, fiscal emergency level. I am in full support of reducing the city income tax, but I also understand the city must be planning and preparing for the departure of American Greetings. The city must also reduce its reliance on the 0.5% income tax that was originally passed by the residents of Brooklyn to get the city out of, quote, fiscal emergency. However, reducing the tax rate must be done in a fiscally responsible manner. Residents of Brooklyn demand great city services. Cutting the tax rate effective next year will most likely necessitate the need to either cut city services or raise taxes elsewhere. Neither of these is a good option, and both are totally unnecessary if the appropriate steps are taken. I believe that this plan lays out appropriate steps. Thank you for your time and consideration. One more thing. Mr. DeMarco talked about income taxes having an effect on whether businesses come to Brooklyn. And I do agree that is a factor on whether they come here or not. However, property taxes are a huge factor as well for businesses coming to Brooklyn. Income taxes do play a role, but they also go hand in hand. And Brooklyn, in the past couple of years, has seen huge increases in property taxes, and that is a direct effect on whether businesses do come to Brooklyn. So let's not exclude that. Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Kathy Pucci.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the mayor for the proclamation honoring my son, Kevin. We appreciate it. And secondly, I too would like to encourage everyone to participate in the Relay for Life. I've been to many of their events over the years, and number one, it's a very good cause. Number two, it's a lot of fun. You get out and see your friends and neighbors. For me, unfortunately, I have to work this Saturday, but I am hoping to be able to stop by in the evening. But please, if you haven't attended in the past, because you might be a little unsure of what it is, just stop up, and I guarantee you'll have a good time. I would like to thank all the directors and department heads for their efforts. In the spring, summer, and fall, we have an increase in calls from residents, complaints, questions, concerns, and everybody has really been on top of everything and very responsive. So I really appreciate your efforts. Regarding some of the legislation on our agenda this evening, first about the municipal income tax, I really don't want to be redundant and repeat everything I've said in the past. I do support reducing the income tax. I have been on record as supporting that since 2011. I put it in writing to every resident in the city of Brooklyn. However, I do not believe it's the right time. I believe it will make a bad situation even worse and resulting in the need to definitely have to reduce services. I am personally disappointed that we're not being more proactive in seeking out attractive, well-paying jobs for the city, but I do not think that reducing the tax now is the answer. I support it in the future, but just not at this time. Regarding the proposed charter amendment, I have a little bit of a different perspective on this. This really goes to the qualifications of a candidate or an elected office. I'm not an expert in constitutional law, so I really can't speak to that, but I don't know of any office that someone can run for where there aren't qualifications stipulated. I just happen to think of one, which my husband's going to probably not be happy that I mention this, but he is a citizen of the United States, but he can't run for president because he wasn't born here. So there is, a qualification that a citizen can't meet. Now, in our charter, we have qualifications for the council people and qualifications for the mayor. For council, you have to be a qualified elector and resident of the city for at least 3 years and not hold any other public office over which council has control. For the mayor, it goes a little bit further. You still have to be the resident and qualified elector for 3 years. You cannot hold any other public office or employment, must devote his or her time during business hours and other such times as may be necessary. Now, these are qualifications that the residents of the city of Brooklyn voted on. Like I said, I'm not an attorney, so I really can't speak to the constitutional issue. I will say that I am concerned about the current language in the proposed legislation as it's presented, because I do think it might be overreaching and thus subject to a challenge. I will tell you that I support the premise that as elected officials, we should strive for a high standard, and I do believe that the public is better served if elected officials are not related. This is not a new position for me. I supported it when it was initially proposed a number of years ago, and I also personally raised this issue with the Charter Review Commission in 2011. What I would support is language similar to Broadview Heights, and theirs is very simple. It says, no two members of a family shall serve in an elected position concurrently. Family is consanguinity or affinity of the second degree, which includes spouse, parents, children, siblings, grandparents, or grandchildren. And for the record, this would not apply to the mayor or his sister-in-law serving. We did have a situation where we had members of a family that would fall into this category that were serving at the same time. And I will tell you from personal experience, there were some problems that those of us who were serving at the time saw firsthand. So just to restate, I can't support the current language because I personally believe that the whole nepotism with family members working for the city and everything, I think that that's better handled through an ordinance. But I would support letting the people decide, not us, but letting the people decide whether they would want to add something further to the qualifications for their elected officials. Finally, this is our last regular meeting. However, just so residents know, even though we recess our regular meetings for July and August, that doesn't mean we're not working. We already have a meeting scheduled, well, 2 meetings scheduled for tomorrow. We know we'll have to meet again in July, and we also still handle concerns and complaints from residents. So just so you know, you can still feel free to contact us. Thank you. That completes my report.
Thank you. I'd first like to congratulate Kathy Pucci's son Kevin on your achievements in debate and the 3 award winners of the Brooklyn Chambers Scholarships, Amanda Mina, Adam Colgaras, and Emily Delaney. It's nice to see Brooklyn residents getting recognized for their hard work or outstanding awards. So if you know someone that deserves to be recognized, please contact the Mayor's Secretary, Jill Ludwig, or somebody on council. I'd also like to remind everyone that on Saturday, August 17th, from noon till 8, the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce will host Picnic in the Park. This is a family-friendly celebration with live entertainment, children's activities, cornhole tournaments, food, and more. This is a free event. Tonight, council has to vote on some ordinance that would impact our future in some monumental ways. First, I'd like to speak about the proposed income tax reduction. I've spoke about this in the past, but I just want to give a different spin on my opinion. Hypothetically, if I were to approach about 100 residents in Brooklyn and ask them if they would like to pay less income tax, how many people do you think would say yes? Probably 100. But what if I told them that we were going to pay less income tax, but possibly lose some service like municipal trash collection or senior snow plowing? Do you think their opinion may change? What if I said to them, despite the fact that our city has the highest volume of police calls in our history right now, we may need to lay off some of our safety forces because we're not going to be able to sustain the payroll? How many people do you think would want to reduce the income tax then? These are just some hypothetical scenarios, and I'm not trying to suggest that we are headed for doomsday. But this decision is important to all of us. We as council were voted to spend tax dollars wisely. However, right now is not the time to reduce the income tax. If we make the right decision over the next few years, this reduction can be a reality. However, the mayor, the finance director, the law director, and a majority of council agree this is not in the best of the interest of the city right now. Next, I'd like to discuss the ordinance on the agenda that would change the qualifications for mayor and council. Let's be clear. Despite what he says, Mr. DeMarco is not proposing this ordinance because he feels it's in the best interest of the city. He's doing this for his own self-interest. He wants to keep his competition off the ballots. The state of Ohio ethics policies dictate an elected official cannot use their political influence to hire a family member or to vote on a matter that would be financially beneficial to them. As you all know, my sister's on the Brooklyn Fire Department, and she has been for many years. She was hired through the civil service process, and her compensation is collectively bargained through the union. Ohio ethics laws permit me to vote on her contracts as they are collectively bargained. However, I choose to abstain on these votes to avoid the appearance of impropriety. Nobody, including Mr. DeMarco, can say that I've used my political position to help a relative, nor would I ever. Ironically, Mr. DeMarco said he used the charter language from Seven Hills as the basis for his ordinance tonight. However, there is no language in the Seven Hills Charter that says someone cannot run for a political office if they have a full-time family member working in the city. So he added this language to his proposal. Why? Moreover, the City of Seven Hills ordinance that speaks to nepotism specifically excludes safety service employees as a family member part of the definition. Therefore, as it stands, the City of Seven Hills, or any other city in Cuyahoga County for that matter, would not prohibit me from running for elected office. So why did he add this language? The only thing I conclude is it's personal. I am very proud of my service to this city, and I know my sister's proud to serve the city as well. However, I am disgusted and disappointed that Mr. DeMarco would attempt to pit our family's service against each other for his own personal gain. I was elected to serve the city by the residents. I work hard for you, and I love this city. I will not vote on an ordinance that prohibits any resident's right to run for political office or restricts the residents' right to choose their elected officials. Additionally, Mr. DeMarco has not brought up any particular instance where there has been an ethical violation by the mayor or any member of council. So unless this is political, I cannot think of any other reason why he's proposing this ordinance. I think both ordinances that Mr. DeMarco introduced tonight are not only politically motivated, they are reckless. It brings me to my final topic tonight. There are 2 instances so far where it appeared that council was not on the same page. Right now with the qualifications and taxes, and earlier this year regarding the school levy. And I would like to emphasize the word appeared. You have to remember, we are 7 different individuals with 7 different backgrounds. We generally have different views on most things, and that's good for you. In common practice, though, if a council member would like to introduce a resolution or ordinance, they first run it by their colleagues via email or bring it up at committee. The income tax decrease was vetted at the budget work session earlier this year. It was something Mr. Van Kirk suggested we needed to start working on as a goal for the future, and all of council agreed. However, Mr. DeMarco wanted this tax decrease immediately, but council overwhelmingly decided this is something that needs to be planned out methodically. Moreover, our budget for 2014 was set in a way to invest more money in our infrastructure than past years. Council, with the exception of Mr. DeMarco, voted for the budget because overall it was a solid and prudent budget. However, knowing that his colleagues were already against moving on the decrease of the income tax at the present moment, he still chose to introduce the ordinance. If you already knew your colleagues were not in favor of it, why bring it to the council floor? I have identified 2 times over the last 6 months where it appeared that council was not unified. I believe these moments were the result of one member trying to push his or her personal agenda and not trying to work collectively with their colleagues to push the best interests of the city forward. I have taken a look back at my decisions over the last 6 months as council president, and I am proud of my actions. I put aside personal tax and personal feelings for the betterment of this city and council, whether that's through my committee appointments or conversations with my colleagues and the mayor to make sure that they were all comfortable in where we were going forward. The council and school board are tentatively scheduled to meet this August for a joint work session, and we are pushing forward to work collectively with the schools. And I will continue fostering positive relationships with the school, the mayor, his directors, and council. But I can only control my own actions. So as we enter the summer recess, I want each of us to take a moment to think about things that have gone over the past 6 months and think of ways we can better work together, because together we can lead this city in the right direction. Lastly, I hope everyone has a wonderful summer and look forward to seeing everyone back on September 8th. And I will move on to the mayor's report.
Thank you. I'd like to say a few words about Terry Deese. He was the president and chief executive officer of Parma Hospital. With over 25 years of healthcare experience, he was the go-to guy if you had a problem. Anytime a resident called me and they had something with Parma Hospital, he's the man I would call. He's being let go now that the UH has taken over Parma Hospital. He will be greatly missed. He was an excellent, excellent CEO. I also would like to offer my condolences to the Vozar family. I worked with Joe for over 30 years on the police department, and it's a devastating loss to both his family and his friends, and he will be greatly missed. There's going to be a blood drive at the Brooklyn Fire Station Community Room at 8400 Memphis on Friday, June 27th from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. And I know they mentioned it before, but that annual Relay for Life is taking place in front of our rec center this year because of the construction at the high school football field. So this will probably be the only year, but it'll be across the street. And it starts on Saturday at 1 o'clock. And in regard to the 2 ordinances that Mr. DeMarco is introducing that'll be voted on tonight, I spoke my piece last week. I'm 100% against both ordinances. I could argue all night about it, but I'm not going to. One of the things that affects me, though, is that since this has been known the last few weeks, I haven't had one person come up to me and agree with it. Every person that come up to me to talk about it has been against both ordinances, and hopefully that's the way council will vote on it. Thank you.
We will now move on to the director's reports. First up is the finance director, Dan Enovich.
Thank you, Council President Gallagher. Our general fund balance as of today is $11,122,717.24. Our general fund expenses year-to-date are $7,022,286.07 against revenues of $9,376,448.14. So our expenses continue to trail behind revenues. Total revenue, including all funds year-to-date, so far is $12,753,836.14. In total, all expenditures for all funds is $10,550,152.23. So in the general fund, we are spending less than we're taking in, and overall, we are spending less than we're taking in. Our income tax collections year-to-date are tracking right on as projected. We're about 2.53% ahead of last year. Total cash right now on deposit is $23,669,286.26. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Police Chief Scott Milkey.
I just wanted to thank the community in general on behalf of the condolences that have been extended to the police department on behalf of Sergeant Joe Vozar. Also extend the family's thank yous. Talking to his wife Laura at the funeral, she just wanted me to make sure that I got that out to everybody that's either called or sent a card or something like that. If you didn't know Joe, not only was he a sergeant in the police department for 31 years, but he did masonry, bricklaying work throughout the city, and there's probably more houses than you can count that have some kind of brickwork done by Joe. He was a very hard-working man and well-respected in the department.
Okay, we'll now move on to requests, and first up, we have a liquor permit transfer from yesterday's Lounge to Bidoff Road Tavern at 7104 Bidoff Road. This is a D5 liquor until 2:30 a.m. on the premise and in sealed containers for carryout.
Move for a position of no objection.
Second.
For a position of no objection, Mary Bellbeer,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz,
Yes.
Katie Gallagher,
Yes.
Tony DeMarco,
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk,
Abstain.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Next, we have the purchase authorization for portable radio chargers and accessories for the police and fire department.
Move to approve.
Second.
To approve, Mary Bellbeer,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz,
Yes.
Katie Gallagher,
Yes.
Tony DeMarco,
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Move on to legislation. We have a resolution 2014-3 declaring the necessity of an election on the question of approving enactment of ordinance to amend section 181.03, 181.031, 181.071A of chapter 181 income taxes of the codified ordinance of the city of Brooklyn, Ohio to decrease the municipal income tax rate from 2.5% to 2.25%. Need a motion, please?
Motion to table.
Second.
To table, Mary Bellbeer,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz,
Yes.
Katie Gallagher,
Yes.
Tony DeMarco,
No.
Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Next, we have Resolution 2014-4, adopting the tax budget for the fiscal year 2015, and this is on second reading. Next, we have Ordinance 2014-32 to amend Section 181.03, 181.031, and 181.071A of Chapter 181 Income Tax of the codified ordinances of the City of Brooklyn to decrease the municipal income tax from 2.5 to 2.25% and declaring it an emergency.
Motion to table.
Second.
To table, Mary Bellbeer,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz,
Yes.
Katie Gallagher,
Yes.
Tony DeMarco,
No.
Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Next, we have Ordinance 2014-33, providing for the submission of electric of 2 amendments to the municipal charter.
Motion to
May
table.
may I be recognized?
Sure.
Can you just, for the record, read what the change is, the new language,
Sure.
or the proposed language?
I said this at a previous meeting, but again, the changes for the qualification of council and the mayor are the same. Any person eligible to become a member of council, and in the mayor part, shall not have a family member who works full-time for the city or a family member holding an elected office for the city of Brooklyn, nor have a family member nominated for and/or appointed to an elected office in the city of Brooklyn. For this section, family is consanguinity or affinity of the second degree, which includes spouse, parent, children, siblings, grandparents, and grandchildren.
May I be recognized once more?
Yes.
Just again, for the record, I would like to state that I would support language that addressed the elected official part, similar to what I read from Broadview Heights, and I would prefer to see any nepotism issues addressed through ordinances. So that's why I cannot support this particular ordinance. Thank you.
Can I have a motion, please?
Motion to table.
Second.
To table, Mary Bellbeer,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz,
Yes.
Katie Gallagher,
Yes.
Tony DeMarco,
No.
Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Next is ordinance 2014-34, authorizing the purchase and installation of air system at the service garage in the amount of $92,193.97 by the K Company, and this is on second reading. Next is ordinance 2014-36, authorizing transfers and advances during 2014. This is on second reading. Ordinance 2014-37, authorizing the mayor to enter into a purchase agreement with Elizabeth Knack for the purchase of certain real property known as 7508 Memphis Avenue, permanent parcel 431-22004. Need a motion to suspend the rules.
Introduced by all, suspend the rules.
Second.
To suspend the rules, Mary Bellbeer,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Katie Gallagher.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
To adopt by emergency, Mary Bellbeer,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Katie Gallagher.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Next is ordinance 2014-38, authorizing the mayor to enter into a municipal agency agreement with the Cuyahoga County Land Reutilization Corporation for the demolition of certain real property known as 7508 Memphis Avenue, permanent parcel 431-22004. This is on first reading. Ordinance 2014-39, authorizing the mayor to expand an agreement with Kathy Halter and Griswold to provide legal services necessary and related to the operation of the city landfill on behalf of the city of Brooklyn in an amount not to exceed $10,000 as previously expanded by ordinance 2012-73. This is on first reading. Ordinance 2014-40, amend section 143.02 of the codified ordinances of the city of Brooklyn, Ohio, entitled EMS service charges. This is on first reading. I'm going to go over these changes. The basic life support and advanced life support used to be $400 and $550. We've increased these to $500 and broke up the two life support 1 and life support 2 distinctions. The life support 1 includes when the paramedics use an IV or just do basic monitoring. The life support 2 includes when they inject drugs or do an EKG. And so basic life support now is $500, advanced life support 1 is $650, and advanced life support 2 is $750. Ordinance 2014-41, authorizing the purchase of 2 vehicles for use by the Brooklyn Fire Department. This is on first reading. Ordinance 2014-42, to approve the 2014 replacement pages for the Brooklyn Codified Ordinances. This is on first reading. And ordinance 2014-45, authorizing the mayor to enter in a management consultant agreement with Clems Nelson and Associates Incorporated for scheduled on-site personal consulting services. We'll need to amend this agreement. The last paragraph of this agreement will now read as, this agreement shall automatically be renewed on a month-to-month basis on its termination date unless either party provides at least 30 days written notice to the other party of their desire to terminate the agreement. I need a motion to amend.
So moved.
Second.
To amend, Mary Bellbeer,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Katie Gallagher.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
And this is on first reading. Is there any other comments by directors or council at this time? A motion to adjourn, please.
Second.
To adjourn, Mary Bellbeer,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Katie Gallagher.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.